U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has now moved on to other aspects, and but will be coming back shortly to resume Middle East negotiations and trying to get this framework agreement back on track and on schedule for April of 2014 signing. You know, it was stated earlier later in last 2013 that if indeed an extension was necessary in order to get a deal done, a final status deal done by April, the Palestinians would be willing to give that extension. But in an interview with the Times of Israel, Chief Palestinian Negotiator Saeb Erekat stated that no extension would be granted. And some of the interview says basically, first of all, Erekat stressed in the interview that the Palestinians will not agree to have talks extended beyond the allotted 9 months set to end in April. Even a 1-minute extension is impossible, he was quoted as saying. Unlike what others say, the negotiations will be 9 months long. The objective is to reach an agreement on all issues pertaining to a final status deal. And according to the wording of the agreement with Kerry, there will be no transitional or interim agreements, Erekat said. And in continuing with the interview, it says the U.S. administration understands that the talks can't go on for 9 months, and so it is trying to cut them short in order to safeguard the peace process and preempt the extension of negotiations, Erekat said. And of course, the Palestinians are trying to say that Israel is trying to sabotage the peace process in every way. And of course, Israel's saying the same thing. Of course, Israel's red line is that the Palestinians must acknowledge that Israel is a Jewish state. And of course, the Palestinians are stating that not only will they not acknowledge Israel as a Jewish state, but no agreement can be agreed upon without Jerusalem as part of that agreement as a Palestinian capital. And of course, they're still holding strong to the precondition that there must be a right of return for potentially millions of Palestinian refugees and their descendants to Israel. And this all being taken from an article by the Times of Israel. It's basically the title of his analysis, Palestinian Red Lines Make Chances of U.S. Mediated Settlement Slim. And I do believe it's slim. I think it's basically not going to happen because I know a lot of people think that Obama probably could be the Antichrist. Of course, before that, people thought it was George Bush. Before that, they thought it was Bill Clinton, and so on and so forth. But just because you're the leader of the free world doesn't make you the Antichrist, and because you're a Muslim or whatever the case may be, again, doesn't make you the Antichrist. I'm still confident that the Bible is correct in saying that the man who will sign the peace accord with Israel and many will come out of the revived Roman Empire, which today is widely known as the European Union. And this closes out the article. It says, Erekat said Abbas presented these preconditions to the Arab League, which transferred them to UN Security Council member states. This is in keeping with Erekat's preferred strategy for achieving a Palestinian state, which is appealing to the European Union to recognize the Palestinian state while appealing to various international bodies to sign treaties and protocols that would enable the Palestinian Authority to file a suit against Israel at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. So the Palestinian chief negotiator's preferred goal is to go through the European Union. And ultimately, I believe that's the way it will go. Now, of course, right now, the European Union is quite in disarray. And in a forecast by Stratfor for 2014, they will continue to be in disarray because one of their chief problems with the bloc is that they will continue to have stagnant to greater unemployment problems. And the central bank is attempting to try to get all of the member nations in line, but the fact that they're not united under one government is a monstrous problem, and they really don't have much control. So like in the United States, if the U.S. wants to control the monetary system or the way things are going, they can because it's under one control. Well, the European Union doesn't have that. And I think that's where they're going to be headed. And I think once the rapture of the church takes place, I think you're going to see a desperate European Union elect a single leader and all the member states, nations, will lend their power to him, just like Revelation 17 says that they will. And this man won't just be a normal leader. He will be a superior orator, financial mind, political mind, and military heavyweight. Nobody on this earth will be able to stand in his way. And as we know, at the midway point of the tribulation period, he will ask to be worshipped, and he will change laws and practices, and also will declare that he is the God of this world. And this world will change dramatically when he comes into power. But getting back to the article and the question at hand, will the 9-month U.S.-led negotiations end in success by April of 2014? Frankly, I don't believe so, and I don't think the Bible supports that it will, since the United States is still at the forefront of this peace plan. In fact, Stratford says that, and they believe this was in their 2014 annual report, that they believe that Israel is deliberately sabotaging and not necessarily playing along with the peace negotiations in retaliation for the U.S. now negotiating a settlement with Iran, or attempting to negotiate a settlement with Iran. And for their part, the Palestinians are doing the same thing for very other reasons. Their end game is that they want to bring in the European Union. But one thing is for sure, there is going to be an agreement of some sort down the road. Now, another question that comes to mind is this right here: will there be war if these peace negotiations, final status agreement, does fail by April of 2014? You know, a lot of people believe that once these talks fail, that it will trigger an intifada, which will explode into a much larger war. Well, frankly, I don't see that happening. Of course, could there be skirmishes? Could there be minor situations that take place between Hamas or Hezbollah? Not necessarily Hezbollah, but possibly Hamas. But I do not see a major war breaking out between Israel and some of its neighbors, or whatever the case may be. Let's face this, Israel has attacked Syria and bombed certain various targets several times, and there was absolutely no reaction from any of Israel's neighbors. Why in the world would they now attack Israel over a failed attempt at peace, which has been going on for decades? And of course, I like to do my homework. I've looked at several analyses of 2014, and nobody has mentioned anything about war in the Middle East. In fact, just the opposite for 2014. But that doesn't mean that the rapture of the church couldn't happen at any moment. And every day I look for the rapture of the church, and I can tell you right now, once the rapture takes place, you can look for this world to change dramatically. And you know, I read and listen to a lot of different analysis on intelligence and foreign policy, and much of what they say is pretty straightforward, and for the most part, they are fairly accurate. But when the rapture of the church takes place, the normal and consistent direction of what's been going on in the world will change immediately, and you will see the unexpected beginning to happen. And the question is do you know the Lord? Do you know that if you were to die today, would you spend an eternity in heaven, or would you spend an eternity in hell? You know, the only way to get to heaven, there's only one way, and that's through Jesus. And if you don't know the Savior, you're on your way to hell. That's the bottom line, the point-blank answer. And it's simple. Basically, becoming a Christian is that you just acknowledge that Jesus died on the cross for you, ask him to forgive you of your sin, turn from your sin, and believe that he's the Savior, and that his finished work on the cross paid your sacrifice and your sin penalty. And you know, that's the one good thing about my Tribulation Period Survival Guide, is that when you, not only are you going to get solid survival advice from this book, but there are numerous occasions that I compel the reader to come to know the Lord. I mean, the bottom line is that it would do the reader no value, no good, to have survived the tribulation period only to be judged by the Lord at his second coming, because he didn't come to him. You know, a lot of people believe that just because you survive the tribulation period and you make it through, that you are going to enter into the millennium. But the bottom line is, and if you don't take the mark, of course, but the bottom line is that there will be angels that will go throughout the world, and who will preach the gospel to every creature in their own tongue. And if you reject the Savior at that point in time, I don't care if you take the mark or if you don't take the mark, when you stand before the Lord to be judged, you will be judged guilty, and you will be sent to the lake of fire. So I would encourage you to give your life to the Lord today before it's everlasting too late. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.